What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to Collectors Gone Digital. My name is Josh, and on today's episode, we are going to be discussing different backstories behind different collectibles on VeVe. Now, before we discuss the 12 on today's list, we are right around the corner from 1,000 subs, so if you guys are not subscribed already, please take 1 second and click the button down below. And we do also have our member tiers that recently dropped. So I'm actually over in the Discord competing with Alex and Crypto and Evolved for the most Pokemon and countries caught. So I have some games set up so that they spawn randomly in the Discord. You can actually build your own collection, trade, battle it out. And we're battling it out to see who can get the most right now. So if you guys want to join in on the fun, you guys can join as a Cub or a Panther. So the first of 12 collectibles on today's list is going to be the 007 Jetpack. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, so the James Bond Jetpack actually recently dropped on the platform. And James Bond actually used this in the movie Thunderball, which was released back in 1965. Now, the specific jetpack was actually called the Bell Rocket Belt, and that was because it was a real-life experiment that was actually developed by Bell Aerospaces in the early 1960s. So it worked using hydrogen peroxide as fuel, and then just like any jetpack you'd expect, it propelled the person right into the air. So moving on, we got Miss Minutes here, who made her first appearance in the Disney Plus series Loki. So she was created by the Time Variance Authority, or the TVA, and she serves as an animated mascot and informational guide for individuals facing judgment by the organization. So this organization manages the timeline and ensures that it remains stable. And while she seems friendly and helpful on the surface, there is an air of mystery around her, as her true nature has yet to be revealed. Next on the list, we got Planet Hulk, which was a Marvel Comics storyline that ran through the Incredible Hulk comic series. So the storyline began in Incredible Hulk number 92 back in 06, and it concluded with issue number 105 for a total of 13 issues. Now the story begins with the Illuminati deciding that Hulk poses too great of a threat to Earth, and I believe part of that Illuminati is Professor X. As a result, they decide to send him away to a peaceful planet where he can live a life without causing any harm. What happened though is that something goes wrong with the spacecraft's trajectory, and instead of landing on the intended planet, the Hulk crashes into a violent and war-torn world of Sakaar. And this is actually when he's enslaved and forced to become a gladiator, fighting in an arena for the planet's empire, the Red King. Next up, let's talk about Spider-Man Noir. So his universe is going to be set in the 1930s during the Great Depression, and his alternative reality has a more gritty and noir aesthetic. Noir, black, dark, drawing inspiration from the crime dramas and detective stories of that era. Now the character's alter ego is Peter Parker, just like the mainstream Spider-Man, but in his universe he's actually a young investigative journalist who works for the Daily Bugle. And on top of that, his abilities are a little different as well. So he doesn't actually have the same web shooting powers, and instead he actually has to rely on his intelligence, agility, and hand-to-hand combat skills. Now speaking of Spider-Man, we got Spider-Ham. So one day, May Porker, an eccentric scientist, was conducting experiments involving radioactive isotopes. Now during one of these experiments, a radioactive spider bit her pet pig, Peter, and as a result, he gained proportionate powers of a spider as well as human-like intelligence. So now he fights crime in his animal-inhabited universe, facing off against various villains, some of whom were actually anthropomorphic versions of familiar Marvel characters, others like Venom, and I'll toss a photo on the screen to show you guys. And through his adventures, they become known for their humorous and satirical take on traditional superhero tropes. Next up, we got the See, Hear, and Speak More Evil Monkeys that were dropped by Ron English over on VeVe. But these collectibles were actually based on the traditional phrase, See, Hear, and Speak No Evil. So this phrase and these monkeys have become iconic symbols representing a concept of avoiding or ignoring immoral or inappropriate actions. Their origin can be traced back to ancient Eastern philosophy and symbolism, particularly in Japan, and the idea is to promote virtuous behavior by avoiding exposure to wrongdoing, gossip, or harmful speech. Talk about a good time to bring that up. Next up, we got ED-209, or as I like to call him, Ed. So Ed's going to be a heavily armed police robot, and also the nemesis of RoboCop. He was originally programmed to guard the crime-ridden streets of Detroit, but because he lethally malfunctioned in his simulation, This is what actually paved the way for the RoboCop program. So next up, we got VeVe, who made his recent appearance in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And VeVe was an inhabitant in the quantum realm. So unfortunately, his home was taken by Kang the Conqueror, who also makes his first appearance in Marvel movies in this film. And his species was wiped out to the brink of extinction, leaving VeVe as the sole survivor. As a result, he joined other displaced inhabitants, and he became a member of the Freedom Fighters, aimed to defeat the tyrant, Kang the Conqueror, and retake their homes. So next up, we're going to have the Locomotive from Back to the Future, also known as the Jules Verne train. So at the end of Back to the Future number 2, the time-traveling DeLorean is struck by lightning, which actually sends Doc Brown back into the year 1885. Now, Marty actually discovers a letter from Doc explaining that he's alive and well in the past, and in order to rescue Doc, Marty and his counterpart need to find a way to generate 1.21 gigawatts of electricity needed to power the DeLorean in order to send it back into the future. Now, when Doc actually goes back to 1885, he establishes a new life in the Old West and becomes an inventor. One thing will eventually lead to another, and the train is modeled after the designs of the famous science fiction writer Jules Verne, hence the nickname. When I hear the name Jules Verne, I always think Journey to the Center of the Earth. Next up, we got Howard the Duck, who, believe it or not, is actually quite old. So he makes his first appearance in Adventure into Fear number 19 back in 1973. He's known for satirical and comedic nature, often providing social commentary through his adventures, similar to that of Deadpool. He comes from a parallel Earth known as Duck World, where anthropomorphic ducks are the dominant species. I don't know why I have that word so many times in these slides. I cannot say it. He's eventually transported from Duck World to Earth through a series of cosmic mishaps, and as a result, he finds himself in a variety of different absurd and funny situations while he navigates this now new world as a clear outsider. I believe his most recent appearance was in Endgame, but I might be wrong about that. Next on the list, we got the Labbiters, created by Frank Kozik. Rest in peace, Frank. And their description reads that they can be deployed in a matter of minutes. So they're meant to keep loss of property and life at a minimum, while ensuring everyone in a 200-mile radius knows what the smell of roasted bad guy smells like. Just straight to the point, I like it. But they serve as, I guess, like personal mechs. Security mechs. Next up, we got Marvel's Devil Dinosaur. So he comes from a parallel world known as Dinosaur World, a prehistoric Earth-like environment populated by dinosaurs and primitive human tribes. Moon Boy, which you guys see on the right-hand side on top of him, he's a small, furry, humanoid creature who forms a bond with the Devil Dinosaur. Now, despite their differences in size and species, they become companions and share adventures in their harsh and dangerous world. The stories explore themes of survival, friendship, and the challenges of living in a world filled with dangerous creatures. And the series ran for a total of 9 issues from 1978 to 1979. And last on today's list is going to be the Swamp Thing. So his origin begins with Dr. Alec Holland, who is a brilliant scientist working on a biorestorative formula in the Louisiana swamps. Now, tragedy strikes when Alec and his wife Linda are targeted by criminals who seek the valuable formula. So during the attack on their lab, Alec is actually caught in an explosion. He gets covered in the formula. He stumbles into a nearby swamp to escape the attackers, but from the muck and vegetation, he emerges as the Swamp Thing. I think I'm going to look into this character a little bit more. His origin story is pretty unique. Ladies and gents, that's going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Those are 12 backstories behind different collectibles on the VeVe platform. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we are right around the corner from 1,000 subs. So guys, if you are not subscribed, please take one moment to click the button down below. It helps the channel tremendously. And if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to share it with the community. We also got new designs available in the store now, and we also have a new showcase coming out in the coming days that you guys can expect as well. But if you enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. As for next, I'll catch you then.